Last week I tweeted a video of this feedback widget I made for Whip, and it was quite popular, and a few of you asked me how I built it. So that's what I'm sharing here, the code behind it. So let's first do a quick demo. If you go to whip.co, well, you need to be signed in, but if you have an account, you can try it yourself. At the bottom right, there's always this little feedback button on every page. And if you click it, it expands. That's all done through CSS. There's no JavaScript written for any of this. Let's say a page needs more cowbell, and then it gets sent, and you get this thank you message, which doesn't automatically disappear yet. It's something I should fix. Probably need JavaScript for that. Yeah, that's it. And the code is quite simple. If you go to this URL, which is linked in the original tweet, you can find the CSS that I used to make this. So this is all CSS. And the most interesting parts are, I think they're called pseudo selectors. There's one called placeholder shown and one called focus. The focus one you might have already used in the past. It's just when a text area or input field has the focus, you can change its design, its styling. So right now it has focus, but then if you click away, it doesn't have focus. And that's kind of like what you can use to style the height and width of the text area. But then the thing you might run into if you only use that is that when you do write something, if you would click away, it would automatically shrink again, which is not what I want. I want to keep showing the text area expanded when there's text inside, just in case someone accidentally clicks away. It's still obvious that they have text that they haven't sent yet. And the way I do that is using the pseudo selector called placeholder shown, which is activated whenever there's no text inside of the text area. So in this case, the placeholder shown pseudo selector is active. So if you combine those two and you do some clever styling with CSS, I guess, you end up with basically this. And again, if I click away, it stays. And if I remove it, it can shrink again. Yeah, and then I receive emails from users. So whenever you submit that form, I get an email. It kind of looks like this. I get the user, a link to their profile, just in case I'm curious who sent it. Usually I am quite curious. I also want to give them credit when I do implement their feedback. The URL, which is the URL the widget is being shown on. In this case, it was the homepage. And then in this case, the text that the user sent. I think they sent me a few things. So in this case, they start with PS. And this particular user, Philip, asked me to add command enter functionality to submit the form with a shortcut, which I added. And then what's nice is that this email is sent by my own website, by Whip, to me, but then the reply email address is set to the user's email address, in this case of Philip's. So I can just reply to this email and Philip will receive it. So it's a really quick way to get feedback and to respond to feedback. And I get, in like a week, I got quite a few suggestions already. So it's more than usual. I already get quite a lot of feedback for Whip because it's a maker community, so we tend to give each other feedback. But I really see like the easier you make it for people to give feedback, the more feedback you will receive. So that's really cool. And so you might have been looking at the code already a little bit in the background. So I use Ruby on Rails. I won't go through every little detail, but basically, let's see. So we have like an application layout, which is shared across all the pages, which is like kind of like the navigation and everything, and the header and everything. There we have this little code. If signed in, we show a turbo frame, which is kind of like an iframe but modern. I won't explain it fully how it works, but it's really nice. It gives you like a little window you can load in other stuff in dynamically. So in this case, we load in a URL called new feedback path. You can actually, I think, maybe I can show you this. Yeah, it's just this page actually without the layouts around it. But this is actually the widget. You're not supposed to visit it like this, but I guess it still works. So we're actually loading in this page in here on every request. And so there's actually HTTP request to get the little form. And then we render it like this. So this is basically the Tailwind CSS stuff you just saw before. It looks a little bit complicated when you look at it like this, but that's why I like, for like more advanced Tailwind stuff, I first create it in here. So it's like isolated, easy to oversee, and then I just copy paste it into my website. And one thing we add here is a hidden field with the request referrer, which will have the current URL in it. And then when you press the send feedback button, it will go to the feedbacks controller, to the create action, which creates a new, what I call a feedback. It sets the user to the current user, and it saves it. And then let's see, we go to the bottom left, it renders this. So it updates the feedback frame with this HTML, which is just a thank you thing you saw before. And because this uses Turbo Frame, which is part of Hotwire, which is part of Rails, it does it all dynamically via Ajax without refreshing the whole page. So that's why, again, I can show you the demo. It's quite lightweight. There you go. So I didn't write any JavaScript for that, which is very nice. This is the data model, feedbacks table with the user ID, URL, and text. In theory, I could add like a lot more, like browser version, screen resolution, etc. But so far, I haven't really needed it. Then this is the feedback model. And just make sure there's actual text, otherwise I don't allow the creation of the feedback. And after the feedback is created, I send the feedback email to myself. And that email that looks like this, you already saw it. And I think, yeah, that's pretty much it. So everything you see on screen here is the code, pretty much all the code that's needed to make this work, to make it dynamic. Yeah, so if you haven't tried Hotwire, I really recommend looking into it. You don't necessarily need to use it with Rails. You can use it with anything. With Rails, it's kind of nice because it was built by the creators of Rails, but I think it also works basically in any other framework. And it allows you to have these little dynamic elements on the page without writing any JavaScript, which is really great. I hope that's helpful. Let me know if you copy it. Go ahead and just copy all the code you see here. I would love to see other people using this as well. Credit to Stripe. I copied kind of like the main idea from Stripe. I think they had it like a few years ago where they also had like a little widget on their dashboard, which was shown, I think, all the time. And which also made it very easy to quickly send some feedback. I think they kind of hid it now behind some buttons, which is unfortunate, but or maybe I misremember, but that's where I kind of got inspiration from. And of course, like the millions of feedback widgets that already exist, like Intercom and Help Scout and those things, but they usually are a little bit more, they require more information. And yeah, I just like immediately showing the text area. Maybe you could even make it more clear that this is a text area, like it's ready to type. There's no need to submit like a million fields. It's really lightweight for the user. And then I think if you make sure to follow up with the users quickly and implement the feedback if you think it's relevant, then you will kind of, how do you say, train them or teach them or let them know you value their feedback and that you will act on it, and they will continue to send you more, which is a great way to improve the product over time. Yeah, thanks for your time, and let me know if you have any questions.